Yeah, it took a while, but it also took me a while to figure out that road before I was comfortable talking about it. It was the first time taking medication. It was the first time dealing with these things and acknowledging them and knowing what they were. So I kind of had to go through that journey with a small circle before I had opened up that was going on with myself.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Don't Change Much podcast. This one is titled Facing Anxiety and features conversations with a couple of guys who speak from the heart and aren't afraid to bare a little of their souls at the same time. Dallas, you said so you were diagnosed with clinical depression. Were you masking that in other ways? Because I think I read that you with alcohol, etc. So was that a way to mask something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely a numbing agent for sure. I would find situations where I would normally be anxious, and just having some drinks would get rid of that. So it just kind of went down that road, and never really was a problem for me where I'd wake up and have to have a drink in the morning. It was more, getting into social situations and end up binge drinking and just taking it a little too far. So yeah, that was a tool that I had used for many, many years, and it doesn't work too well in the end. I work in a situation, but in the end, it was pretty destructive. And I quit a little over 5 years ago. I found my anxiety it actually has helped my anxiety disappear a little bit, or I'm able to control a little bit more just because of the, I'm not sure if it was just the amount of alcohol or the unknown of what my actions were going to bring me. It just seemed to bring a bit more stableness to my life when I quit drinking, a little more predictable.
We know there's still the giant stigma around mental health and admitting when someone has a problem. Did you ever try to hide it? Once you were diagnosed with the depression and knew you had anxiety, were you open about it right away, or it was something that you tried to hide and you didn't want to face right off the bat?
At first, so 15 years ago, yeah, it was extremely upsetting, and I wasn't ashamed of it, but it was a completely different lens that I had to look back at my life at and look at my life at, and it wasn't something that I wanted to go through that myself in a pretty small circle. So I really kept that quiet, and yeah, there was masking for sure. And yeah, it took a while, but it also took me a while to figure out that road before I was comfortable talking about it. It was the first time taking medication. It was the first time dealing with these things and acknowledging them and knowing what they were. So I kind of had to go through that journey with a small circle before I had opened up that was going on with myself.
Similar experience for you, TC?
Yeah, it's interesting. Most of the troubles in my early life were caused by alcohol in our home. So I was really committed to trying a different way. And at times I thought to myself, I almost wish I had found a way to cope with it a little more effectively, because as I was struggling, there was kind of no escape from it. And I would have wished for that at times. But, I lived with it on my own for 15 or 20 years through my teens and early adulthood. And then it just got to a point where I couldn't do it on my own anymore. And I reached out to a trusted acquaintance and started asking for some support. That was about 8-9 years ago. I remember clearly the first conversation I had with my still now therapist of about the last 8+ years. I almost needed to justify to her who I was, I remember saying to her, I've got this great wife, I've got a great job, I've got lots of friends, and our daughter's, healthy and 2 years old, and an A-type personality. I think I'm doing okay. And she's like, so is almost everybody I talk to, and these last 8 years have sort of played themselves out. I was telling a really close friend, obviously, the other day that it feels a little bit like a leaky canoe, because the things I went to work with 8 years ago, I'm kind of getting gold stars, and big check marks in the corner of the report card. But all these little holes in the canoe keep popping up, and we're trying to fix those as well. So I think for a while I thought this is something that I'll get over or get past. I came to the conclusion many years ago, probably the hard way, that that's not the case. So what tools can I put in my toolbox? What muscles can I build up to weather storms when they come?
We'd like to thank you so much for listening, and a big thanks to all of you who have already followed us wherever you get your podcasts. If you haven't yet, hit that follow button on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any of our upcoming guests or episodes. For more helpful tips on improving your mental and physical health, please visit menshealthfoundation.ca and don'tchangemuch.ca.